Donald Trump has attended a court hearing in Washington, D.C., where judges will decide whether he can claim presidential immunity. The former president was scheduled to stand trial in March over 4 criminal charges amounting to election interference. Sky News Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen joins us live now. Annalise, what is President Trump's defence?
Look, he's arguing that he can't be held liable for anything that happened while he was in office. And this has raised a particularly interesting question because this is all quite unprecedented when we're talking about the actions of a president or former president. So in this case in Washington, D.C., he's accused of using his role to interfere with the US election result at the end of 2020, culminating in the riot at the Capitol on January 6th. So Donald Trump was in court today because you could argue that it's potentially a bit of a campaign stop for him ahead of the Iowa caucuses, but also because this is quite an important legal point that could help him in a number of his cases. So he spoke after the hearing where judges heard arguments from both sides about whether he should be allowed to claim presidential immunity as a defence in this case. And he said if they don't go ahead and support his claim, it will open a Pandora's box of legal issues for anyone else who takes on the office of President of the United States.
You can't have a president without immunity. You have to have, as a president, you have to be able to do your job. But if this didn't work out, if I wasn't given immunity, then other presidents, when we talked about today, President Obama with the drone strikes, which were very bad, they were mistakes, terrible mistakes. You really can't put a president in that position. So I think most people understand it, and we feel very confident that eventually, hopefully at this level, but eventually we win. A president has to have immunity. And the other thing is I did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong.
The court allowed audio recordings of the proceedings, but not video recordings, and so we can share some parts of what was said today. One of the arguments from Donald Trump's team was that they say he shouldn't be held to a criminal prosecution in this case because he's already been impeached by the Congress and the Senate declined to convict. Their argument is that in a process where the House of Representatives impeaches and then it goes up to the Senate and they decline, then that should be the closing point for any further prosecution. The judges in this case, two Democrat appointees and 1 Republican, appeared skeptical of this argument.
Even under Clinton, where there's a deal cut, under President Nixon, where there's pardon given, there's an assumption that you could be prosecuted, because why enter into those particular acts?
And there was another hypothetical put forward by one of the judges saying, look, if you're a president, it doesn't give you complete immunity. Are we talking about a scenario where a president could order their Navy SEALs to go murder a political opponent and then say, hey, I have presidential immunity, I'm allowed to? This was addressed by both sides. Here's the representatives for Prosecutor Jack Smith with their response.
And frankly, as I think Judge Pan's hypothetical described, I mean, what kind of world are we living in if, as I understood my friend on the other side to say here, a president orders his SEAL team to assassinate a political rival and resigns, for example, before an impeachment? Not a criminal act. President sells a pardon, resigns, or is not impeached? Not a crime. I think that is extraordinarily frightening future, and that is the kind of, we're talking about a balancing and a weighing of the interests. I think that should weigh extraordinarily heavily in the court's consideration.
Kenny, the judges have reserved their decision on this particular point. It's almost certainly going to be appealed to the Supreme Court at some point, therefore further delaying it and pushing it more into the 2024 presidential election season than it already is.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. Annalise, thank you.